Peace, Patrick, ConservativeRap, and as you can see for yourself, we're living through a moment of seismic change. There's a deep state, an entrenched financial set of powers that are using everything they have at their disposal, every tool they can, including engineered shutdowns, to freeze interest rates and induce a recession. But their grip is slipping. There's a parallel economy that's rising through energy sales, through tech innovation, gold-backed cards for high-level immigration, and strategic tariffs that are laying a foundation for a new financial order, one that puts sovereignty and productivity first in line. Let's take a little bit about, or take a look at what's happening. I'll start with some posts on X, and you tell me your thoughts on today's financial and economic reality based off what we're covering. Kobisi letter on X. The last time the average U.S. gas price was below $2 a gallon was in April of 2020. This was at the heart of the pandemic lockdowns when oil prices turned negative. Can President Trump bring $2 a gallon back? I say yay. By this time, 2026, we're going to be looking at a whole different economic order, but let's keep moving on. Also, in other news, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, as acting commissioner of IRS, I am pleased to announce the appointment of Frank Bisignano as CEO, a newly created position he'll take in addition to his current role as Social Security Commissioner. Frank is a businessman with an exceptional track record of driving growth and efficiency in the private and now public sector. Under his leadership at SSA, delivering on President Trump's agenda, he has already made important and substantial progress. We're pleased that he'll bring this expertise to the IRS as we sharpen our focus on collections, privacy, and customer service in order to deliver better outcomes for hardworking Americans. And this is a clip from today. Bessent announced that the Social Security Commissioner, Frank Bisignano, will serve as CEO of IRS. In this newly created position, Bisignano will report to acting Commissioner Bessent, managing the organization and overseeing of all day-to-day IRS operations. I would say, similar to the Federal Reserve, I wouldn't be surprised if we witness the IRS being absorbed into the Treasury and functionally just less taxes for us all, which would be wonderful. Moving on to RT, IMF issues global debt warning. Public debt levels could outgrow the world economy within 5 years, IMF chief Kristalina Georgieva says. And these are some of the culprits that we know to point the finger at for keeping us in financial lockdown. The global public debt will exceed the size of the world economy within 5 years. This reminds me of some of the pre-COVID era projections from Bill Gates and the others. IMF chief Kristalina Georgieva said on Wednesday, calling the trend a sobering reality for policymakers worldwide. Public debt refers to the total debt held by governments, businesses, and households. Georgieva said the surge in borrowing is driven by fiscal deficits, pandemic legacies, and rising interest costs in both advanced and emerging economies. And this continues to go on into particulars. The warning comes amid soaring U.S. federal debt, with Washington running persistent deficits despite high interest rates. As of October, it has hit a record $37 trillion, with 125% of GDP, with interest payments now one of the largest federal expenses, exceeding defense spending. Similarly, this is investment news. I forgot to share this tab. Hold on. Let's see here. Boom. Screen. IMF. So here's the article for IMF we just quoted. I'm going to move on to investment news. Share this tab instead. Investment news, the trusted resource for independent-minded investors. JP Morgan's Jamie Dimon warns of potential stock market correction. Top banker says there's a 30% chance of correction, that he's more worried than others. Jamie Dimon, chief executive of JP Morgan Chase, has sounded the alarm for financial professionals and investors when the stock market may be overdue for a correction. Dimon's remarks in an interview with BBC during a visit to the UK reflected his growing unease about the durability of the current bull market. There's no such thing as a permanent bull market. If you're not already, I would be looking into gold, silver, palladium, alternative places to store your currency, because before we reach the golden age within the sort of peak of 2026, there may be a little bit of turbulence in between that time. So this goes on. I'm not going to belabor this specific point, but check this out. Also in IRS news, I love this. I'm going to share this tab instead. IRS to furlough nearly half its staff in shutdown week 2.
I'm very good watching your show. And when you said, could you do it? I said, I'm a little busy, but in your case, I'm going to do it. Absolutely.
Well, you certainly are busy, and we know you got literally the weight of the world on your shoulders. Hey, first off, if you don't mind, the Schumer shutdown, are you making progress? What do you expect? I heard the experts say it should be over this week.
Well, I guess we're making progress. You know, look, they should have never shut it down. We have the best economy in the world right now. Nobody's even close, and they shouldn't have done it. But they're out of control. They're controlled by the radical left people, and it's just so ridiculous. So, yeah, I guess we're making progress. A lot of people want to get it done. You know, they want to spend their money on open borders. They want to spend their money on all the things that you don't want to spend money on. And you know, what they've done with health care is a disaster. What they've done with health care is just an absolute disaster, the way they waste money. So it's just one of those things. But I guess the answer is, I think it's moving in that direction.
Fascinating. Furlough half of its workforce on Wednesday as part of an ongoing government shutdown. According to an updated contingency plan posted on its site, most IRS operations are closed, the agency said in a separate letter to its workers. The news comes after Trump and Congress failed to strike an agreement on funding federal operations, and the government shutdown has entered its second week with no discernible endgame in sight. This is the beauty of the shutdown. If it lasts long enough, Trump is going to be able to cut government workers permanently and not bring some of that burden and overload back, which would be wonderful. And this goes into further detailed. She urged the Trump administration and Congress to reach an agreement that reopens the government and restores the services that Americans need and deserve. The notice to workers states the furloughed workers and those who remain on the job will receive back pay once the shutdown ends. This is notable since the Republican administration on Tuesday warned of no government guaranteed back pay for federal workers affected by a government shutdown. Last week, Trump said that 750,000 federal workers nationwide were expected to be furloughed across agencies, with some potentially fired by his administration. Amen. Representatives from the IRS, the Treasury, and the White House did not comment on the furlough plans. Earlier this year, the IRS embarked on mass layoffs spearheaded by the Department of Government Efficiency, affecting tens of thousands of workers. At the end of 2024, the agency employed roughly 100,000. Currently, that hovers around 75,000. Wow. Truth in practice. All right. And then lastly, we're going to move over to Truth Social. Speaking about truth, tariffs are only good if you want your country to be rich, influential, and powerful. If you want your country to be a third world country, you should vote against the tariffs. And hence why the shutdown is such a big issue. Again, we're going to see fuel prices dropping, OPEC coming back online. What that means is relief is on the horizon for delivery drivers, manufacturers, families. You think about heating your home, booking flights, a lot of that's going to be cheaper once the gas prices come down. And behind the scene, the IRS and Federal Reserve are going to be reabsorbed into the Treasury. This is not just reshuffling, it's a reassertion of constitutional control over our money. 2025 was the wake-up call, and 2026 is going to be the reckoning. At the heart of it all, gold, silver, real assets, real value, they're going to be the backbone of a future that's no longer dictated by invisible federal bureaucrat hands. What do you think? Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, share, and check me out at ConservativeRap.com for more. Thanks and take care.